quite, inconsistent with the original. Then something went wrong. Somebody did something wrong. And I think my own guess is they're trying to correct it. They're trying to correct it by either through a more, covert way or a more open way. But somebody made a mistake. There's no way we can have two separate, not completely different, they're almost the same, but apparently there are two versions. One with a little more detail and one with less, with more of a bulky or broad perspective.
If one would read in between the lines and the letters here, it looks like someone wants to sneak something in.
It looks like it. It looks like somebody's been rather sneaky with the documentation and the very important legislation for 2016. But what everybody's saying is that even those two versions, the changes or the difference is very, very minute. It's very small. So it's minute, but the principle of it, that why should you have two separate documents? Why should you try and sneak something in? Where is there a who's wrong? Who is dropping or who is making the mistake here? Where is the lack of communication? So obviously there's somebody not going through the right process.
We saw,
even though it's supposed to be a minor correction.
In the last administration, the relationship between the legislature and the executive, especially in the lower chamber of the National Assembly, was not all that smooth. And it seems there's a switch, there is a flip in that in that mode of what we saw in the last administration and now. There seems to be more tussle between the upper chamber now and the executive. What do you think could be playing out politically in the high-ranking level of politics in Nigeria?
I don't see it that way. I honestly don't see that big difference in their opinions and how they approach things, especially with the important bills in front of them. They're both led by the same party, so there's this harmonious, or at least potentially harmonious relationship. And also, they're both, the leaders of those houses are very seasoned politicians. So the maturity is there. So I believe it's some sort of miscommunication between both houses. And I don't think it's really as big as the media is playing it. I really don't think so. I think the most important aspect of things right now is determining how the original, those two documents, how did they get to the House and whose fault is it? Beyond that, we should just move on and ensure that what the president is giving us is what the legislatures will deliberate upon and hopefully vote on.
All right,
that's the key.
Let's take a moment now on Politics Today on Channels Television, and when we return, what exactly is it about this document? Now that the president says it is perfected all the errors, it's perfected the version that the Senate and the House of Reps will be deliberating on. What is next? That's our focus next on the program. Stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. It's the very first edition of Politics Today Daily. It comes to you right at this time every day of the week here on your award-winning television station, Channels Television. Well, what we've been talking about is a 2016 budget. Well, missing or not, that was a debate, but now the president seems to have clarified every doubt, and he says, this is the document which you need to deliberate on. Let me bring in one of the lawmakers who are at plenary today. He is a former right activist and, of course, a senator representing Kaduna Central Senatorial District. Senator Shehu Sani joins us from our Abuja studio. Good evening to you, Senator Sani, and thank you for coming on the program. Tell me what happened on the floor of Senate today and give us an insight into the politics of the missing budget. What really happened?
Well, the first story was that the budget was missing or stolen. Later, the Senate made a clarification that it was not missing. There were two editions, the first and then the second. Now, it has been confirmed by the presidency with the corrected versions being presented to us. Nigerians now will have the opportunity to watch the Senate debate the corrected version of the budget that is brought before us. This fully confirmed what we said earlier, that there was some alteration or adjustment. And now we have a corrected version before us to debate with.
Interesting. When we wonder, when that letter came in and the Senate President was reading it, some people were saying that, well, there is no real version, there is no original or fake version or later or former version. There is just only one version. But what the letter contains tells us that there just might be a version which was first transmitted and another version this time around, because the letter says, this time around, this is the one which you should deliberate on.
Well, like I've said earlier, the very fact that the word corrected version was brought in is ascertained the position which you made earlier, that there were two versions, and that for now, we have settled towards debating with the corrected version that is brought before us. And what is most important for Nigerians is for us to move forward. Nigerians want delivery and performance, and it's not possible without the budget being processed. And we have resolved to work with the corrected version, and that is just the final resolution with the Senate.
All right, interesting, because one of the things the president says at some moment during the campaigns, and of course when he assumed office, is to talk about transparency in governance. But if you look at what the Senate president said about Senator Itai Anang, that what he distributed is different from what was presented by Mr. President, and he went further to say it is what the president presented that the Senate will sit on or deliberate on. It shows that perhaps someone wants to sneak in a version into the chambers other than what the president presented in December of 2015. Are we seeing some level of, what will I call it right now, Senator Sani?
Well, as for investigations on what actually happened and what came out of it, the Senate is working on that. But what is of concern to all Nigerians is that they want to see their budget being processed and finalized with an oil price going below $28 per barrel and a foreign reserve that is within that range, and the call for Nigerians for delivery and performance. We cannot waste much time talking about the problems which we encountered. So we will go ahead and debate this version, while the issues that concerns how the versions were brought in and removed will be a matter for the Senate to continue to investigate.
All right, interesting. Tell me, if you will tell us, what are the differences that you think are there now in the two documents?
Well, I think with the debate that is about to come up, a budget is not a one-page document. It's a bulky document that you need to go through from the first to the last, and you have to do it meticulously. Since the word corrected was used, it's very clear that there were things that were wrong with the first edition. And for us, we will work with the one which the president has